Nearly 30 years ago, in his last speech to this Assembly, NDP leader Grant Notley said that this government's failure to deal with the desperation of so many thousands of Albertans had led to the suicide of Richard Cardinal, a Métis youth in government care. 30 years later, too many children, most of whom are poor and Aboriginal, are still dying in government care. Will the Premier agree to a public inquiry into the deaths of children in government care that specifically investigates the link between child poverty and the likelihood that children will end up in government care? And if not, why not?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable leader makes a very good point and has asked a very good question. Because there is no doubt that when we have children in vulnerable situations and living in poverty, that families are at risk and children are at risk. Mr. Speaker, that is why this government has made a commitment to end child poverty, has introduced a social policy framework that we are working with community leaders and not-for-profit agencies across this province to ensure that we can do a better job. You will know today, Mr. Speaker, that Public Interest Alberta has issued a report that notes that we have actually seen reductions in poverty rates in Alberta, that we continue to see less people on the social support rolls. That is good news. We will do more, and we would like to work with the opposition.
Thank you. The honourable leader.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, that report actually says that the government has done too little to end child poverty. The leader of the NDP said 3 decades ago that the government's failure to deal with the desperation of Albertans living in poverty and the desperation of Albertans in government care had been ignored for too many years. In the last election, this Premier promised to end child poverty, a measure which would hopefully see fewer children in need of government care. But instead, her government cut funding for rent supplements, child care grants, and income support, all things vitally needed to keep families and children out of poverty, Mr. Speaker. To the Premier, why did you break your promise to Albertans' children?
Mr. Speaker, what in fact we are doing is keeping our promise to Albertans and to Alberta's children. We're keeping that promise by talking with community about how we work together to ensure that every family has the tools that they need to be successful and that every child has what they need to succeed. We've talked about the social policy framework, we've worked through the Together We Raise Tomorrow, and we're working with communities to have an appropriate plan. But while we're doing that, Mr. Speaker, we haven't stopped helping individual Albertans on a day-to-day basis with income support, with AISH, with whatever they need to be successful. This is a project of success, Mr. Speaker, but there is more work to be done.
Mr. Speaker, well, the government has asked for the opposition's help. I'll provide a little bit of advice to them, and I want to ask these questions. Will they restore cuts to income supplements? Will they restore cuts to family income support? Will they restore the cuts that they made to anti-poverty programs in the last budget? And will they actually take steps backed up with real money to end child poverty in this province?
Again, Mr. Speaker, this government has actually increased support for AISH recipients by $500. We've increased income support to individual Albertans. The reason the budget for income support to individual Albertans went down is not because we cut the benefits to individual Albertans, but because more Albertans have an active opportunity to participate in the economy of this province because of the other good things that this government is doing. We're creating a solid place for Albertans to live and to raise their families. We're supporting those families where they need support. We're helping them with skill development where they need it. There's more work to be done.